Good afternoon, all. Let's start. Um, we'll continue with the chapter which we were discussing. It was about employability skills. Okay, let's continue. So, so we were discussing about employability skills. So I'll just continue with the same. Let me share my screen first of all. So we were talking about communications. Now, written communication we have covered. Non-verbal communication we were doing, and these are different kinds of methods of non-verbal communication that we people have just seen. This we have already covered up. So moving on to the next part, that is advantages of non-verbal communication. See, non-verbal, as I told earlier, was that non-verbal where there's no word involved, right? Only with the help of certain gestures, with the help of your hand movement or body language, you can explain certain things to somebody, right? So इसके फायदे क्या है, advantages क्या है? It enhances the verbal communication. First thing is that it enhances, like if you're talking to somebody and in the meanwhile you also use certain hand gestures, you in the meanwhile you also use your face gestures, right? And that adds to the communication, right? So even if you're talking, so आपके gestures के through non-verbal communication के through, the other person will be able to understand you better, right? Then effective substitute of verbal communication. Now in case there's a situation like there's also so much of noise coming, so in that case your verbal communication cannot take place, right? So in place of such things, non-verbal communication can be used, right? Like for example, placing a forefinger on the lips is a request to quieten down. So if you can request somebody to be quiet just by placing your forefinger on the lips, right? So you no need to speak. You just with the help of that gesture only you can make him explain that what basically is uh, what basically you want to convey. Then effective method for communication for differently able people, especially the hearing impaired, the person who cannot hear. So with the person who cannot hear, उसके साथ तो verbal communication नहीं हो सकता. Written communication can be done, but verbal or spoken words cannot be used, right? So for those kind of people, this non-verbal kind of communication is the best one, right? Quick communication, as I told, like if you place your forefinger on the lips to keep somebody quiet, that's the quick way to communicate whatever you want to say to them. Instead of explaining everything, you can simply say it with the help of certain gestures. That's वो सबसे आसान और quickest तरीका है किसी को communicate करने का. Then it also has some certain disadvantages, like sometimes it lacks clarity, the other person may not understand from the gesture you're making, right? Because whatever you are communicating doesn't have a definite meaning, उसका कोई final meaning नहीं होता. So other person had to analyze and make it understand कि क्या आप कहना चाह रहे हो, right? So this may lead to some distortion effects, right? uh, and it is not a good tool for communicating to a crowd when you are explaining certain things to the large number of people. So it's difficult to communicate with the large group with the help of this non-verbal communication part. So that is not so effective in that case. Then it cannot sustain in long conversation. You cannot talk to somebody with gestures that for a longer hour, like if you want to talk to one person for 1 hour or so. So If you use non-verbal communication, that will not be so effective, right? The next category is visual communication. uh, it is the transmission of message using imagery, right? Images, right? Imagery. Broadly, visual communication include all forms of verbal, non-verbal communication that take use of sense of sight. So things like signboard, or graphics, or movie, or a PowerPoint presentation, or some models are used in visual communication, right? And it's always add the meaning of written to add to the meaning of written and oral communication. So whenever we are giving certain written communication, so if you use certain visual communication in between, so that makes the other person understand in a better way. ठीक है, तो सामने वाला बड़ी अच्छी तरीके से समझ सकता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लाइक हम पीपीटीज बनाते हैं, पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन बनाते हैं, तो उसमें रिटर्न भी होता है और उसमें विजुअल भी होता है. लाइक वी एड अप सम पिक्चर्स, वी एड अप सम एनिमेशन इफेक्ट्स, वी एड अप सम transition effects, right? Or you can also add some videos, so that helps the audience to understand your points in a better way, right? So advantages is, if we talk about, enhances the message. So whatever oral written communication you are doing, उसमें एक फायदा add हो जाता है. Like you can add graphs, you can add pictures and all those things, and it leaves a lasting experience, long lasting experience, impression, sorry. So like if you show somebody a graph to make some understand about some analyze part, like results, if you want to show to students, so you can show it in a graph, so the person will able to understand it through in a better way. And moreover, जो दिमाग में impression रहता है वो ज़्यादा देर तक रहता है, ज़्यादा तक वो audience जो है उसको याद रख सकती है. Certain video visual aids can be used to simply present the complex data. As I told, if you want to show the comparison of marks of all the students, so if you say or if you speak or even if you write, it will be difficult. But if you create a graph of that, it will be easier for the person to understand, right? So complexity can be removed by using this. So ease of understanding, again the same point. Visuals can be used to communicate across the audience, um, which requires the audience to be literate or fluent. Like, if you do with the written or oral communication, then the audience should be literate to understand whatever is written. अगर वो पढ़ा लिखा है तो ठीक है, अगर वो पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है ऑडियंस में कोई पर्सन, तो वो उसको अच्छी तरह समझ नहीं पाएगा. सो उसके लिए विजुअल या वीडियो बना के आप कुछ दिखाओगे तो दैट विल बी बेटर, राइट? Disadvantage is that it is costly because we have to use certain visual aids, और visual aids में चीज़ें costly होती हैं. जैसे if you want to show a video to somebody, of you have to record it. Recording में you need a video camera, you need devices for storing, right? So it is a bit costly than the normal way, and it is always incomplete by itself. Visual, if you show pictures to somebody, so and you don't tell anything else regarding the picture, so the person has to thoroughly analyze the picture only. So that may lead to miscommunication, because अकेली पिक्चर से वो पूरी चीज़ नहीं समझ सकता. आपको साथ में कुछ टेक्स्ट देना चाहिए. यू मस्ट गिव सम डिटेल्स ऑल्सो. सो तो verbal communication plus visual communication is okay, but only visual communication is incomplete, right? And moreover, it requires expertise. Like if you want to give a presentation, you should know how to create a presentation in PowerPoint. You should know how to do it. You should know how to create graphs, right? You have to go through the subject. You have to learn the things, right? And sometimes it is not easy for a normal person to prepare such things. तो ये तो हो गया कम्युनिकेशन के टाइप्स. Perspectives in communication. Perspective is a person's point of view. Perspective is what you thought of something, what is your view about something, right? Or it is derived from the Latin word look through. Perspective look through से बना है. So what you people look to, like if you see this figure, in this figure this girl is saying there are four different sticks, but from this side you will see there are only three, right? So both of them has some different perspective. Girls perspective is that there are four rods here, and the boys say that there are three over here, right? So both of them has different and each one of us have different perspective to anything, everything that we have, right? So कुछ भी हो रहा है, कुछ नेगेटिव सोचता है कोई बंदा, किसी भी सिचुएशन को नेगेटिव लेता है, और दूसरा पर्सन उसी सिचुएशन को पॉजिटिव भी लेता है, right? Everybody has his own thought, right? So perspective is a communication refers to individuals understanding and interpretation of the message, right? What are the factors that affect our perspective? Visual perceptions. Visual perception is how we see things. How we see things affects the way we communicate the same to somebody else, right? When you look at something, your brain works on what your eyes see and tells you what you are looking at, right? And different people may see different things when they see a picture. So if you see, like in this picture, um, can anybody tell me what all people are seeing this? इसमें क्या दिख रहा है? Anybody? Just see this picture. What you are getting out of it? आपको क्या दिखाई दे रहा है इस पिक्चर में? Anybody?
एक लेडी ने जैकेट पहनी हुई है शायद।
लेडी ने जैकेट पहनी है, ओके। और किसी और को कुछ और दिखाई दे रहा है?
ओल्ड वुमेन।
ओल्ड वुमेन, हाँ, ओके।
सर ये यूट्यूब पे है ये इफेक्ट।
अच्छा, ये यूट्यूब पे भी है। सो डू यू सी द साइड प्रोफाइल ऑफ एन ओल्ड लेडी और डू यू सी ए यंग लेडी? ये दोनों चीजें दिख रही हैं। एक तो लग रहा है कि कोई बूढ़ी औरत है, ये उसका हेयर्स एंड ऑल, राइट। एक लग रहा है कि इट्स ए यंग लेडी विच इज सीइंग एट द बैक, राइट। सो दोनों पर्सपेक्टिव है, देखने का नजरिया है। कुछ लोग उसको यंग लेडी समझेंगे, कुछ उसको ओल्ड लेडी समझेंगे। तो दिस इज ऑल परसेप्शन इज अबाउट। तो ये विजुअल परसेप्शन है कि देखने में हर बंदा जो है वो अपने अपने हिसाब से उसको एनालाइज कर सकता है। राइट। सो then language can also do different things, like language also changes the perceptions. When we communicate, the language should be clear and not leave anything to the listener's imagination, right? So for example, imagine someone say reading in the library is always allowed, right? Somebody could hear it as reading in the library is always allowed, right? Allowed means this allowed and that allowed both are different, but the language says दोनों की pronunciation same है, but दोनों का मतलब अलग अलग है। This is allowed, this allowed means it is allowed to talk, and this loud means to speak in louder voice. So both words are same. When you speak certain such kind of words, it will difficult for one person may think कि भाई allowed है, धीरे धीरे बात करनी है। एक पर्सन ये पूछेगा भी allowed बोला है, that means you have to speak in a louder voice, right? So again, language can create different perceptions for different people, right? So there should be clarity in whatever you are speaking, right? So clarity कैसे ला सकते हैं? allowed की जगह पे permitted लिख दो, right? You can speak out, reading in the library is always permitted, Then perception also depends upon the past experience. So when faced with the situation, we are bound to be affected by our past experience. The first time you are called upon to make a speech, right? You are tend to be nervous. पहली बार आपको कोई बोले भी स्पीच देना, नर्वस हो जाओगे, ठीक है ना? A couple of speeches down the line, you will be less uh, apprehensive and more confident when you speak. आपने 2-3 बार स्पीच दे दी है तो आपको कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाता है, राइट? So this is also the perception of the person changes as per the experience. If you made some glaring mistakes in your first speech and receive a negative feedback, you will less likely to want to attempt. ठीक है? अगर भाई किसी ने मिस्टेक निकाल दी आपकी पहली स्पीच में, ये यार ये तो अच्छा नहीं बोलती, right? So that can lead to that you'll lose your confidence, right? So if your experience is good, and you will feel more confident and you can speak in a better way next time. So it's all depend, right? Whatever experience you have gone through, right? If someone had made fun of you, you want to keep a distance from that person. So based on experiences, your mind develops certain mental blocks, certain likes, certain dislikes, which affects your perspective, right? Which is perception is changed, right? Prejudice is preconceived notion that is not based on fact or reasons or personal experience. So notions मतलब कि वो चीज़ जो मतलब आप बना लेते हो दिमाग में, ऐसे बना लेते हो without experiencing it, right? Just by imagining. For example, you have never interacted with differently abled child, but it has somehow been ingrained in your mind that a differently abled child needs special care. So you are curious around such a child. So आपने कभी किसी डिफरेंटली एबल्ड चाइल्ड से बात नहीं करी, बट आपने वैसे ही दिमाग में परसेप्शन बना लिया, सोच लिया कि नहीं भाई, ये जो ऐसे लोग होते हैं, ऐसे बच्चे होते हैं, उनको कोई स्पेशल नीड चाहिए बात करने के लिए भी या कम्युनिकेट करने के लिए भी. So this is all prejudices. So your mindset or the thinking about something creates a perception for you, right? Although it may not happen, the differently able child can also communicate in a better way, right? So whenever you do go with some actual experience with such people, so you'll come to know भाई ये तो कर सकता है बात अपनी, communicate कर सकता है, right? So your perception changes then. So this prejudice is pre-thinking is also affects the perception that you're creating for somebody, right? Then feelings, your perspective can be affected by feelings, both how you feel at a particular time and how you feel about the person you're interacting with. And if you're upset about something, the way you communicate with others is very different when you communicate with them in the same situation while being a happy mood. कई बार आप एक ही सिचुएशन में हो, आप एक बार अपसेट होते हो, योर कम्युनिकेशन विल बी डिफरेंट. एक बार आप खुश होते हो, सेम सिचुएशन है, देन योर कम्युनिकेशन विल बी इन अ डिफरेंट वे. So this also leads to thinking. Your perception will change as per your feelings, right? So उसमें communication में क्या होगा, language में be different. Like if you are low, you are upset, your language will be low, right? Tone of voice will be low, body language will be different, right? And if you are happy, your language and the tone will be higher, your body language will show that you are very happy, right? So in that case, the perception of the person, the thinking of the person will change. Then certain environmental factors also affects. It includes the place, people, things, nature, and everything that surrounds you. These are also important factors, right? Atmospheric temperature, the people who are with us, the place we are in, distraction around you, right? So everything. So whenever we are in a happy environment, um, we are congenial to our all around development. So whenever you are in a happy environment, you are in a happy place where everything is okay, the environment is okay, the surrounding is okay, so you always feel good, right? Okay, you'll think positive. But if you are in a worst condition, environment is not so good, right? So in that case your communication will affect, right? So that's the thing, environment factors also affects the thinking of a person, perception of a person, right? So मतलब कहने का है कि आपका perception जो है fix नहीं रहता, it keeps on changing as per the situations and as per the different factors. Then we have writing skills. Writing skills is uh, important and integral part of communication, very important insight. So good writing skills are essential if you want to convey a message clearly, right? You should be clear with your thing, you should be good in grammars, you should write or frame the sentences in a proper way. ग्रामर अच्छी होनी चाहिए, मिस्टेक्स नहीं होनी चाहिए, स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स नहीं होनी चाहिए, राइट? So the better your communication, the better will be just standing along your colleagues and clients. So whatever is this, जितना better आपका written communication होगा, skill होगा, उतना better आपका surrounding होगा, right? Now we have 7 C's with which to check your communication and improve your skills. So 7 C's we have to follow. First C is clear. So whenever you are writing certain things, you, your objective should be clear. Whatever you are saying, whatever you are writing, it should be clear. You do not use complex words which other people may not be able to understand. कॉम्प्लेक्स वर्ड्स नहीं लिखने हैं, इजी वर्ड्स लिखने हैं ताकि इजीली जो है आपके पॉइंट्स जो हैं जो यू दैट यू वांट टू कन्वे आर इजीली कन्वेड. कंसाइज, कंसाइज मीन्स टू द पॉइंट लिखो, क्लियर लिखना है, पूरी कहानी नहीं लिखनी. Always write to the point and it should be clear. Concrete means don't be vague, don't be imaginary. Use specific and factual things to support your message. Right? So factual चीजें होनी चाहिए, imaginary चीजें नहीं लिखनी है. It should be correct. Whatever you're writing, level of language, it should be correct. Coherent, ensure that your message makes sense to the receiver. So if you are writing certain things to somebody, so it should be helpful and meaningful for that person, the receiver who is receiving that message. ठीक है, उसको सेंसिटिव हो, मतलब वो करेक्ट हो, उसके फायदे का हो, उसके मतलब का ना हुआ तो फिर उसका लिखने का फायदा नहीं है. And it should be complete means it should covers everything that you want to say, right? It should not be incomplete, right? Then be courteous, be polite in drafting a message. Whenever you're writing a message, be courteous and be polite. Always start with a greeting line, ends with a thank you kind of message, right? So take in consideration the feeling of the receiver, right? So to write well, you should have strong command over language. You should know the language that you're writing in, like English language, you're writing a message in English, so you should be good in English, right? Your writing skills should be good. And now we'll talk about different things we can use while writing one particular sentence or a message. First of all, we should know what are phrases. Phrases are the group of words that together form a single unit, right? And phrases are not complete sentences. Phrases sentences नहीं होते, वो किसी bigger sentences का part होता है, right? Like a good friend, after lunch, between a laugh and a cry. These are phrases. If you talk about we decided to complete the game after lunch, ये full sentence है. इसमें after lunch अकेला जो है वो एक phrase है, group of words है, right? So this is one unit and the full thing is a sentence. So phrase and sentence both are different. A phrase may be long also, it can be short also, but it does not have the subject verb pair, right? Subject होता है कर्ता, जो किसी भी सेंटेंस में क्या एक्शन हो रहा है, तो एक्शन करने वाला जो, दैट इज सब्जेक्ट, राइट? And if you write one phrase that doesn't convey full meaning to somebody, right? So phrases are used with sentences, they are used inside a sentence, right? Now if you talk about types of some phrases, एक नॉन नाउन फ्रेज है, एक वर्ब फ्रेज है, prepositional है, infinitive है. The noun phrase is the one which contains a noun along with a modifier. A noun, we know that no noun is name of a person, place, animal, or thing, and modifiers are an attributive adjective or noun or determiner. ठीक है, तो adjective लग जाएगा किसी noun के साथ तो वो noun phrase हो जाएगा. This is my old aunt, right? The new car, right? So these are examples, right? Aunt is the noun here, and old is the adjective used with that, right? New car, car is the noun and new is the adjective used. Then verb phrases, the which contains the main verb and the helping verbs. Like I just say, you must return. Return is the verb and must is the helping verb. Children are playing. Playing is the verb and are is the helping verb. So such phrases are verb phrases. Prepositionals, which contains one preposition and the object, right? The object may be noun also or a pronoun also. So like behind me, behind is the preposition here, and me is the object here. After breakfast, after is the preposition, and breakfast is the um, noun here, right? Infinitive phrases, which contains infinitive along with a simple verb, right? Infinitives का ज़्यादातर जितने भी हैं infinitives, they always starts with to, like to watch movie, to relax, right? So it ends up with the infinitives, and it has with simple verb or a noun also, right? To watch, to relax, these are examples. Participle phrase begins with a present or past participles, right? So present and past participle, present में ing होता है और past participle में ed लगा होता है, right? And it always take the form of an adjective in the sentence without making a murmur. Word ride in the sun, right? So ये participles का use हो गया. Present and past participles can be used. Future one नहीं use होता. Then gerund phrases, which contains a gerund. Gerund is the ing kind of word. That's staying out, eating ice cream, right? And which acts as a noun. Staying out late, eating ice creams in winter. Absolute phrase, which contains a noun or pronoun along with the participle, right? And it has a participle, it has a noun or a pronoun with it. And these absolute phrases, they are separated by comma, right? He stood on the stage, comma, his head bent. So this his head bent is the phrase absolute here, right? तो यहाँ पे इसमें नाउन प्रोनाउन है, हिज यहाँ पे प्रोनाउन है, और यहाँ पे पार्टिसिपल भी लगा दिया है, राइट? So these were phrases, and sentences are the words which are complete in itself. It contains a subject also, it contains a verb also. Object is optional, right? Sometimes we have object, sometimes we don't have. And if you talk about kinds of sentences, one is declarative sentence, which is a normal kind of sentence which declares a fact, which you shows you the fact, right? All declarative sentences ends with a full stop. It can be negative, positive. Also, negative means it has not in it, or positive which doesn't have not. Jake is very attentive in the class. This is positive. I do not understand the exceptions in the rules. This is negative. Do not आ गया ना negative हो गया, right? Imperatives are the sentences which convey a command, a request, right? So if you are commanding somebody, you're sending a request to somebody, so that is imperative. And all these imperative sentences, they ends up with exclamation mark or a full stop. So please be seated, it's a request, and leave the classroom at once. This is one kind of command that you're giving to somebody. तो यहाँ exclamation है, यहाँ पे full stop है. Interrogative sentences which ask a questions and it always ends with a question mark. What is your name? Will your parent pick you up after school? So these are questions that you're asking to somebody. These are interrogative. Exclamatory, which is used to denote certain excitement, strong feelings, right? And all exclamatory sentences ends with exclamation mark. Like what an exemplary student Raj is, right? So you're saying these words in excitement. I am so thrilled, right? So this shows that you people are excited, and at the end of these sentences you put these exclamation marks. ठीक है, तो ये तो हो गए आपके sentences की types. Then we'll talk about parts of the sentences. Every sentence is divided into two parts: subject and the predicate. Subject is in the sentence is the noun uh, that sentence is all about. So the action doer, the person who is doing there, is called as a subject. It can be a person, place, animal, thing, or idea, right? This is Shimla is a hill station. Here we are talking about Shimla. The Shimla is subject here, and the part which is left over, which contains verb and other things, object and all, is called as predicate. Subject को छोड़कर जो बाकी part बचता है वो predicate है, right? That's Shimla is a hill station. Shimla is subject here, and is a hill station is a predicate, right? Parts of speech. There are 8 different parts of speech. Noun, we know. Noun is a naming word which names a person, place, animal, thing, or feeling. Pronouns are the one which are used in place of nouns. Right? Just Rakesh live in Hyderabad. He attends a private school. So he here is the pronoun which is used in place of Rakesh. Verb is the doing action doer. The words which is actually which depicts that whatever action is going on. Right? It shows the action or state of being. Right? Rakesh lives in Hyderabad. Lives is the word here which shows what Rakesh is doing. He attends a private school, right? So attends is the word which shows that what he is doing. So these are the action words. इनको हम verb बोलते हैं. Adjectives are describing words. Gives us the information about the noun. They describe about the noun, right? Like pretty, pink, sick, small. These words are adjectives, right? Like private school. What kind of school? It is private school. So it is describing the type of school. The private word here is adjective, right? Adverbs are the words which describes the verb. Remember, adjective describes the nouns and adverbs describes the verbs, right? Like word rarely here is rarely absent, right? So is के साथ में rarely लगाया, is the verb and rarely is the adverb here, right? He moves slowly. Moves is the verb and slowly is the adverb. Conjunctions are the joining words which can join words, phrases, sentences, clauses with each other, like and, but, or, and yet. Prepositions are position words. They're also joining the sentences, but it also creates a relationship between noun and other words. Right? It shows the relationship. Conjunctions सिर्फ join करते हैं. Prepositions also shows the position, and it also shows the relationship between the noun and the other part of the sentence. जैसे Rakesh lives in Hyderabad. Where does he live? In Hyderabad. So relationship बारह है इन words की वजह से. This in is preposition here. Interjections are the words which express emotions or strong feelings. और इनके बाद एक्सक्लेमेशन मार्क होता है, जैसे आउच, ओह, वाओ. So these are intersections, right? So you people might have done these in your English grammar also. So anyhow, I think the time is running up, so I'll end up here. So articles and all will do in the next class. So just go through all the things. You might have done this in English, so this will be helpful. Read the things, and if still you feel some trouble somewhere, you people can ask me anytime. Okay? Okay, then good afternoon from my side.